Welcome to the Unzipped interview series. Should we start with introducing you and telling us about your role and your company and what products and services you sell?
Pleasure to be here, Carly. Thank you. So my name is Jesse Mullins. I'm the founder and director of Ooze Studios. We're a creative and marketing agency based out of Melbourne, but helping clients globally. Our focus is on effectively building ROI-focused digital products. So that can be everything from like websites and apps, but more importantly, marketing campaigns.
Brilliant.
So making sure that they're giving bang for buck back to the customer, because that's how we create these long sustainable relationships, because if they make money, we make money, right? It's that simple.
Great. Can we actually just then take it back a step? So it's always really interesting to know what's your background. So what did you study? What's been your career to date? And then what's driven you to actually launching Ooze?
I suppose I've had a bit of an unusual kind of route to where I am today. I did maths at uni. I've always loved data. I've always loved figures, but I didn't quite know how to apply it. So I went into the world of finance and business management. So through that, got my hands dirty with some marketing in-house. Either there was no one else doing it, or there's a marketing team and I was helping them with the analytical side of things.
Yeah.
And so just through self-teaching, became more and more interested in it. And by the time I was 27, I launched my first business. And then Ooze is the reincarnation of that first business. And we've been doing that for about 4 years now. So my journey is both coming from finance, business, and marketing all combined into one, which I think really infuses into the ROI focus.
Yeah, brilliant. And so this video is specifically to talk more about marketing. So let's just start with your passion. So what is it about marketing that you absolutely love?
Well, as you can probably guess from my description, I love data, right?
Yeah.
I'm a bit geeky about data, but I also understand that not everyone loves data, so I need to be careful about going too deep into it. But essentially, regardless of how much anyone loves or doesn't love data, every single business owner or brand owner should be making evidence-based decisions using facts, data, etc.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I see myself as a marketing scientist, right? And that's something that I think works really well with our clients, because we can tell them if something's worked, if something hasn't worked, and why it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
If we go out and create campaigns, create landing pages, create email campaigns, etc., based on gut feeling, and it goes wrong, we've got nothing to fall back on to say, okay, these are the possible reasons why it failed. The reason why it failed is because you based it on gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
Now obviously, we've got a fair amount of experience and expertise to have a good starting point. But regardless of your starting point, you should always be making data-driven, evidence-driven decisions, and that's what I love doing. I love to form a hypothesis. So as an example, I believe that this target audience will engage well with this type of copy, this type of text, this type of image. And so we're going to spend $500 over the next 2 weeks testing that, optimizing it all the way through, and we expect to reach this objective after the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so through the data accumulated during that period, we can then ascertain as to whether we failed or succeeded. But because we made some data-driven decisions right at the start, we know why we failed. And so that's one of the major reasons why I like this, is because we're always becoming better at it, regardless of at a particular campaign level, or even at even more minute level at an ad level, but more so at a client level and an industry level as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. That is a fantastic answer. And yeah, you can clearly tell how much you love it and how much passion you have. So yeah, lucky clients. So let's move it into talking about fashion because that's my world now. So yeah, so can you actually describe to starters, what does marketing actually mean in the world of fashion? So that can, for you to answer, could be the methods that they use, why they should use it, what results they can expect from using marketing in fashion.
Yeah, look, great question. And so obviously every brand is unique and every brand is going to be at different stages, right? But there are still underlying principles, whether it be marketing, whether it be business, market validation, whatever it is, there's still underlying principles that apply to no matter what stage you're at or no matter what niche or market segment you're trying to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
So really fundamentally, the first thing that people forget is there's actually a 3-stage macro journey that all B2C, so business to consumer,
Yeah.
customers go through. So if you own a fashion brand, your first stage is acquiring new
Mm-hmm.
customers, right? So the acquisition stage. Then the next stage is retention. So actually trying to keep them coming back and not losing them as a customer. So trying to increase that frequency of purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And then that third stage is the upsell, right? So you've got, they come in, they've bought item X and you're trying to, and therefore you can try and sell them item Y.
Yeah.
So whether that's a different accessory, a different dress, a different jacket, whatever it is.
Totally.
Because fundamentally, like you can't, like they're all interlinked, right? You can't cross sell to a customer you don't have,
Yeah.
and you can't retain a customer you don't have. So so ultimately the acquisition is the chicken and the egg all in one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also typically the most expensive, right? Because just by basic business principles,
Yeah.
the cost of acquisition of a new customer is quite high in comparison to trying to then upsell or increase frequency of purchase for the current customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing you always need to remember is, okay, what's the most effective way? So that involves in terms of lowest ad cost, in terms of lowest labor cost. So what's the most effective way to get an individual to purchase from you multiple times?
Yeah.
And the answer is always email. Email has always historically and for the foreseeable future will always have the highest return on investment because it has the lowest cost.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, once you've got that one-to-one connection with someone, you've got their email address, you can send a one-to-one personal connection with someone via their email address. Once you have that, then you can start to retain them. You can start to cross-sell and upsell.
Yeah.
What's really important to remember that I've seen quite a few brands forget is they're just focusing on that acquisition.
Yeah.
And they forget actually they've spent that money to acquire them, but they're not maximizing the value out of them.
Yeah.
You know, and this is, you know, you're not pushing anything against them. You're not being abusive. They've come to you. They've trusted you. They've trusted your value proposition. They've trusted your products.
Yeah.
They've liked it, right? So they already have either full trust or part trust.
Mm-hmm.
So all you're doing is saying, hey, look, have you seen our latest range? Have you seen our latest offer? Or have you seen our latest bundle, whatever it is? And that becomes a very powerful connection because you can actually start to build that further connection with someone.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And I would definitely say I'm no marketing expert, but that whole personalization community, it really is just more and more important now that you need to build the trust signals as early as possible. So yeah, fantastic. So
100%.
I guess for startups just starting out, if you then talking about that very first process again, would you have any specific methods, as in that can be tools, it can be, again, step-by-step processes that you think that they should start out with?
Absolutely. So this next method we call pre-launch campaigns, right? So this doesn't actually have to just apply to brands that haven't launched, right? But it can actually apply to current brands that are launching a new product series or a new product range, or a new product in itself. You should always have the mentality of having a big build up. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're the major difference between pre-launch brand and pre-launch range is that the pre-launch range should ideally already have an email list. Even if it's 200, 500 emails, they would have that email list. So their job's a little bit easier, but nonetheless, basically the principles still are the same.
Yeah.
So you still want to build your email list, quality email list, by the way. Don't go out and purchase an email list off the internet. I guarantee you it's garbage. It hasn't been checked. Someone's trying to flog you off. It's just, don't bother, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're much better off coming up with a strategy to acquire valuable, high quality emails. So people that are actually going to buy from you, rather than going out and buying in bulk and it being garbage.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, people again forget all leads are not created equal, right? And so what I mean by a lead is basically someone's email address. That's a lead. That's a prospective customer. Yeah. And people get really excited. Oh, I've got 10,000 leads. Sorry, that doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You can have 1 million leads and a 0% conversion rate, and you're still at ground zero, right? Yeah. There's also some really famous examples. There's some very, very good email marketers out there that have actually shown that they've created a 7-figure a year revenue model for a business with only 200 email addresses.
Yeah. Wow.
So what they did is that they found a very particular niche, obviously high value product, low frequency sales. But he connected with them really, really well, and they pretty much bought anything that he presented. Wow. And so he sold, I think, $1.5 million in his first year. Wow. So quantity doesn't mean anything. It's all about quality.
Brilliant.
So basically, just going back to the original point I was trying to make is so step one, make sure that you have a good quality email list. So there are multiple ways to build that. Competitions, lead magnets. There's multiple ways to do it. There's a lot of literature online, but ultimately, the more connected you are with your audience, the better the quality of the email address that you'll capture. Yeah. And then so what you can do is that once you have this email list, and again, even having 100 is a starting place. It can be your friends and family. As long as you have something to start with and you can run it through an email marketing software so you can test the engagement. But then you create, let's just say, sometimes it depends, but typically a good lead up is 6 weeks. Yeah. So you set out a calendar. You have an email once a week or twice a week. And then as you're getting closer, it becomes 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And as you're getting to launch day, you're making sure your audience knows that it's coming and they're getting excited. They're getting really, really excited, whether it's the offer, whether it's the value of the goods or service, whatever it is, they're excited about what's coming and they know it's coming, right? Yeah. Because you, as a brand owner, have an absolute ginormous amount of competition, right? I'm talking direct and indirect. So the fashion industry is very competitive. So, but that's just one segment, right? You are vying for the eyeballs of your audience at all times, and they're being bombarded left, right, and center. Yeah. So you need to stand out, and you need to stand out using good copywriting, good images, but also just get back to absolute basics, connect with them. Yeah. Imagine you're talking one-to-one with someone, because that's what an email is. Don't make it fancy. Don't jazz it up. Don't add all these images, because as soon as someone sees that, they know that it's not one person talking to another. They know they're being sold to. As soon as someone knows they're being sold to, because they get it all the bloody time, they're like, nah, don't care, delete, archive, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Make it personal, and it's coming from, not from the brand, but from you, the brand owner. People are much more likely to read it.
Yeah. So true. Fantastic. Yeah. We've all had too many sales emails in our lives that, yeah, again, it's all about trust. You've got to be able to trust the person. Very quickly,
So,
just in case those don't understand, can you just quickly say what a lead magnet is?
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, I think the last time I counted it, the last time I saw the complete list, it's about 150 different variations, different formats.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So you've got quizzes, calculators, reports, white papers, ebooks, webinars, live Q&As, Facebook closed groups. Anyway, basically anything that has any value to your end audience, right? There are multiple different formats. So again, marketing is this odd beast whereby you need to use the basic underlying principles, but at the same time, you need to not follow the trends. If you follow the trends, you're just going to be like everyone else, and you're not going to stand out, and you're just going to be part of the white noise in the background.
Yeah.
Think about, I mean, the very first thing is research what your competitors are doing, right? Lead magnet marketing is not new. A lot of people are doing it, but how you do it defines you, defines your brand, and defines how successful the campaign is. Yeah. So if you can find a cool, innovative format in which to essentially exchange content, because that's all it is, right? All those formats that I just gave you, whether it's a video, a live Q&A, a calculator, it's all just content. It's all just repackaged up in different ways, but it's about what your audience values. And so if you create the right lead magnet, people will hand their email address like that. They're just like, here you go. And so you obviously need to bring traffic to that page. So especially for the fashion industry, Instagram and Facebook, very successful, been proven time and time again. So you run ads to that particular landing page where it's got a form. They fill the form out, just name an email, keep it simple. Yeah. And they get emailed that report or that lead magnet, whatever it is. And then suddenly you've got someone's email address that is engaged with your brand, that's seen your brand, but is also clearly interested in what you're talking about or what you're trying to convey. So it can be anything, in the fashion industry, right? A hot topic is sustainability. It can be anything related to that. It can be like a pro fast fashion or an anti fast fashion industry report, right? There is so much you can do. Top trends that are going to happen in 2021, right? Whatever it is, make it relatable, make it have value to someone.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, how much is too much? Like, how much should a fashion brand be sending and spamming, you could say? Like, what's that boundary?
Good question. Test it. Honestly, every audience is different, right? So typically the Gen Zs, they use email, but they don't sort it very well. Their inboxes are cluttered. So you just need to keep on hammering that door. Say, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Whereas a Gen X keeps their inbox pretty tidy. So if you're bombarding them with emails, they're going to get really pissed off because you're causing extra work for them. Yeah. Right. So very dependent on the audience, but at the end of the day, use the data. So the most elementary CRM/email marketing tools, MailChimp, very popular for a reason. You get a lot of bang for your buck. It's very, very entry level. Yeah. So no one has any excuses for not email marketing, right? It is there. It's very easy to use. You're going to do multiple pre-launch campaigns, because I was saying it's not just about pre-brand launch. It's also about pre-range launch. and any other thing that you're trying to launch.
Mhm.
So run it once, be a bit aggressive, see what kind of drop-off rate you get. So judging from that drop-off rate, if you're getting like if you're getting if you're getting 10% unsubscribe rate, that's very high, right?
Okay.
So that could be one of two reasons. One, the audience just isn't interested,
Mhm.
or two, you're being too aggressive. So just ask yourself, and then there's things like A/B testing, right? So you can go further. You can split your audience into two. Which by the way, just a little tip: A/B testing you shouldn't do with less than a pool of 1,000 users. If you're going to run an A/B test with 2 landing pages, make sure that you send 1,000 clicks across. You get 500 on each. If
Mhm.
you're going to do an A/B test with emails, make sure that you have 1,000 emails. So you send 500 to each. Just mathematically, it's not really a significant test unless you have 1,000 users. But that's a really boring data math stat. You're welcome.
Numbers.
Yeah. So just going back, so you got your pre-launch email campaign. You've got your lead acquisition, bringing people into that campaign, and then around it, depending on your product, you might want to do a discount strategy within that. So for some products, some audiences that works, for some it doesn't, right? So if the value, again, if the value proposition for your customers is the fact that you're producing this amazing scarf, but it's one of the cheapest on the market, discount strategy is perfect because the value is in the cost.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're producing a high-end jacket where the value is in the leather, it's in the quality, it's in everything but the cost, a discount strategy might not necessarily work. Right. So it really depends. It really does depend. But it's something that you should test. Get to know your audience.
Yeah.
Every brand has a unique audience. They really do. Because if you think about it, every brand has got a unique group of individuals, and that unique group does form a unique audience, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess just to talk about audience, so it kind of goes without saying, but you need to know who your audience is before you really build your business. It's one of the fundamental starting points. But yeah, I guess once you've launched to then post-launch, how do you kind of keep in touch with the audience again? I guess the answer is data, but yeah, how frequently should you be really checking in on who is my audience now? How much have they changed? Were my ideas of who they are completely wrong now? Yeah, any advice around that?
Yeah, so I see this quite a lot. Brand owners fall into the trap of thinking, I've got 10,000 Instagram followers, therefore I've got a reach of 10,000. You don't. Okay. They've been very, very clever. They being Facebook and, well, Facebook being both, have been very clever in monetizing both platforms. If you want to reach more than 0.1% of your audience, you need to boost your content. You need to pay for it.
Okay.
Which is why emails are so much better, because it's not about a platform controlling how much of the content they see. It is literally a direct line. How do you keep the audience engaged? Definitely content, 100% content. I'm not saying don't post on social media. Definitely do keep it active.
Yeah.
But do not have that as your sole focus. Always be looking at ways to engage with the audience in different ways.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we as well as pretty much the whole industry knows that emails are the most effective. Some strategies I've seen have a strong focus on quantity over quality, right? Because they think I need to post 3 times a day, 5 days a week, just to keep up with the competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I have seen that work in rare instances, but that particular business was extremely good at copywriting, right?
Okay.
They were actually extremely connected with the exact hopes and dreams, pains and fears of their audience.
Mhm.
And so they found it quite easy to create really high quality content. So that
Yeah.
was an example of high quality and high quantity. But typically, brands can't do both.
Yeah.
Typically, it's one or the other. And so, you know, if you're limited on time, which most business owners are,
Yeah.
and you're limited on funds, which again most business owners are,
Yeah.
try and think of, one really, really cool, interesting post that you can do a week and
Hmm.
put some money behind it,
Yeah.
right? It's much better to go really high quality and low quantity.
Hmm.
Um,
Great tip.
because because if you're just posting all the time, again, you're seeing like 0.1% of your audience are seeing that
Mhm.
maximum.
Um,
Go
Out
on.
of interest, what channels are then working the best at the moment? So obviously since COVID, a lot changed. So yeah, so for fashion startups again, what channels should they really be working with?
Okay, so we've seen something quite interesting happen. I mean, it is. We thought it was going to be dependent on countries, but it seems to. I mean, it's definitely affecting Australia and the US. But essentially, the cost of advertising on Facebook has gone up quite a lot.
Yeah.
So uh, we're seeing the cost per clicks increase a fair amount.
Hmm.
So it's actually become even more important to be that marketing scientist mindset, to be really, really strategic and
Yeah.
make sure that you're getting the maximum value back from your ad spend.
Yeah.
Because typically Facebook and Instagram, which you both advertise through from Facebook Ad Manager, they are the lifeline for a lot of quality traffic, a lot of sales
Yeah.
for fashion brands. And
Definitely.
now more than ever, they need to be really strategic with the spend.
Hmm. Okay, great. Um, Thank you. And yeah, so I guess for fashion startups starting out, that's a bit of a tongue twister. What would you say are some of the most common mistakes that you have heard or seen fashion brands do to hopefully stop people watching this doing them?
So it's not being revenue focused,
Hmm.
right? So they will they'll focus on what's known as vanity metrics, right?
Okay.
So a vanity metrics is essentially one that actually doesn't help you reach your end objective, which is to grow the business sustainably and profitably.
Yeah.
So a classic vanity metric is focusing on number of Facebook likes, focusing on number of Instagram followers, right? That they don't pay the bills, right?
No.
Purchases do, revenue through the door does.
Yeah.
So focus on that being your major objective, right? You're in fact every business's marketing objective should only be revenue at a good ROI.
Yeah.
Like that sentence should be embedded into every business owner,
Yeah.
because it's not just about revenue. Because if you're getting revenue at a bad ROI, then you're going backwards.
Hmm.
But if you have that as your major objective, then work backwards and figure
Yeah.
out what kind of goals you want to be setting, achieving from that.
Yeah.
Some other uh, classic things is this is more pre-launch. That's basically like bit before the brand's launch. Is
Mhm.
that the business owner wants to have everything perfect,
Yeah.
right? They want everything to be 100% ready before they launch.
Hmm. Not
Don't do that. It's just nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Mhm.
I'd recommend reading up on minimum viable product modeling, so MVP modeling. The
Yeah.
term MVP is very, very popular for a reason. That is about finding the most effective way to get a product out
Yeah.
to your audience, and the actual product itself being the minimum viable product as well.
Yeah.
So, do you like ask yourself as a brand owner, do I need 3 full ranges at launch?
Yeah.
Probably not. Like, do I need that many styles and that many items within my first range?
Yeah.
Answering those questions at the start, and working out the best way to get the product launched,
Yeah.
and the most effective way and the quickest way,
Mm-hmm.
without sacrificing value, without sacrificing quality,
Yeah.
is basically a common way to fail by not thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much. It's good, take it slow. And even again, there's, you know, fashion brands, it's quite a common thing for the word soft launch, and that's pretty much what you're talking about. So again, definitely knowing the audience, knowing your market. Yeah, very smart. Jumping around a bit, so what would you say is like the best ever campaign you've ever seen? So do you have any tips around like what is a good campaign?
It comes down to your value proposition,
Mm-hmm.
combined with your competitive advantage.
Okay.
So, and most people will focus on the value proposition alone, but the value proposition doesn't always. So, if people really understand value propositions, then the two are merged.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, business owners aren't thinking about that competitive advantage, because the value proposition is what you're offering the customer, right? And why they're going to value you and the product you're offering. But you have to stand out from the crowd. You have to work out what makes you different. And that is honestly the single biggest factor that we've seen between a successful and a really bloody successful campaign.
Yeah.
It's all about that value proposition, connecting with that audience, mixed with making sure that you are very different from the competitors.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good tips. And yeah, so I guess bringing it back to a bit of the basics, in a sense, the beginning for the startups hopefully watching this. What would you say are the tools that they really need to invest in, like now from day one? And just put yourself in their position. Like, what would you encourage them to be doing now at the very beginning?
So a few things, right? So depending on budget, so for instance, with your CRM, which again uses email marketing, which we've spoken about probably too much, but really important. So you're either going to use MailChimp or we recommend ActiveCampaign. So it's ActiveCampaign's like $80 a month, but that's like, we found the best middle tier CRM out there. Yeah. So if you have the budget, invest in that, because the things you can do with it are incredible. Like, so you can have, for instance, you can set up interest funnels. So if a customer comes on purchases, they go into your CRM and set up what's known as an interest funnel. So if they then visit your website 3 times in the last 3 months, they'll get flagged as they're interested. If they visit your website 6 times in the last 3 months, they're very interested, and they can send an automatic email. And maybe don't be creepy and say, we know you've been looking at us, but you can send them an email going, hey, have you seen our latest product, right? So for them, they don't know why that's coming, but from a engagement level, incredibly powerful. We've seen that work really well. So if I was going to invest anything, I'd definitely invest there. The other thing is making sure that your website is extremely user-friendly and mobile-friendly, right? Okay. And I'm making sure that it's mobile-friendly. Actually go through the whole experience, start to finish, as a user. Go in, purchase products, go through the whole process yourself, quality assess it properly and in depth. Don't cut corners with that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending money and time to bring traffic to your website. You're going to expect them to purchase something. But if it's all cumbersome, if it's all difficult or not fluid, they're going to turn away.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, definitely. Fantastic tips, thank you. And yeah, do you have any mentors or any reference points that you specifically have, you look at or focus on that you could recommend?
So basically there's your classic Neil Patel and Seth Godin. They've been around for a long time, and they're very popular for a reason. They're like, Seth Godin's known as the godfather of content marketing, which is no small claim.
No.
Neil Patel is extremely good at content marketing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I recommend taking a course if you've never done marketing.
Mm-hmm.
If you try and learn as you go, you're going to spend money, you're going to waste money, and you can get things wrong. And, Facebook ad settings can be tricky. If you get something wrong, you can blow your budget very quickly, or you can not set a budget and it can be spending money without you knowing it, which is even worse. I've seen that happen before. I really like to help businesses, which is why I've joined up with you to help you with your online course. So basically I've given some much more in-depth analysis and tips and hints in the course around marketing, especially for fashion brands. So if I was going to recommend anything, recommend your course.
Why, thank you, Jesse. Very kind. And for those watching, Ooze Studios has actually featured in our 6 steps to launch a fashion brand course. And you've helped us out with the actual branding lessons through to pre and post marketing strategies, methods, all sorts. There's so much content. We greatly appreciate that. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time to talk about your passion. Is that data or is it marketing? It's both, for sure. Ooze Studios is a fantastic digital agency offering more than marketing, so definitely go and check out their website. I will be posting it for everyone to see. So thank you so much, Jesse. And any last words for startups joining the entrepreneurial ship?
Just one last thing. I've said it before, but I'm going to give it a different reference. So, evidence-based decisions, incredibly important, not just with marketing, but we use our Ooze Studios throughout our whole business. So we use it in everything from recruitment through to operations to everything. So, as you're going, for instance, a perfect example, as you're going through the recruitment process. Is the person you're hiring, are you basing it on a gut feeling, or do they actually fundamentally meet the criteria of the job? And ask yourself, is the criteria of the job that you posted, is that actually something that you can measure, right? So if you put on a job must work well with others, how are you going to measure that in an interview process, honestly?
Especially working from home as well at the moment.
Right. So really actually work out the actual criteria of the job and what you can actually test through the various different methods available now with online recruitment, and really hone in on making data-driven decisions. And that's all the way across all organizations and brands.
So thank you so much for your time. And that's Jesse from Ooze Studios.
Thank you very much, Carly. Have a good one, audience.